What is happening, Dolphins fans? And welcome to another episode of the Fins Tailgate with your host, El Capi Matzan. Tonight on the tailgate party that never seems to stop, a question be a brewing. A lot of people have a lot to say about the current situation with, do you pay Tua Tagovailoa? Do you ride out the fifth-year option? I'm hearing suggestions of people. There's some laughable ones for competition. We're going to get into all that. Also, we're going to get into some of these new coaching hires on the defensive side, which an overhaul seems to be happening. So we'll get into all that, guys. Make sure you're hitting the like button on your way in, subscribing if you are new, and wait a second. I'm in Shake's thing. Look at this. I'm on the Shake Money Show. There we go. Now we're home. Yeah, guys, hit the like button on the way in, and we're going to get into all this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get caught up on the news, tell you guys what I think about things. Just a lot going on. A lot of people, it's, Super Bowl week. Media is going crazy. A lot of people talking about, everything, but when we hear about the Dolphins, it's only Tua, and we're going to talk about that and what people are saying. So, again, hit the like button on your way in, and we'll see you in just a second.
Turner Yell makes the stop in the secondary for Denver. 1st and 10, the fake, good, block in there, and down it goes, caught at the 30. This is the dynamic hill. He's in for 6. Tyreek Hill, touchdown!
Into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand, and damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder, and f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off, it's these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve it now. It's only worth it if you work for
it. Yes. Another edition of the Fins Tailgate with your host, El Capitan. I mean, listen, it's been talked about a lot. I did the video not too long ago. What was it, Monday? I don't know. What's today? Wednesday? I don't know. It's all just a blur in the off season. Can't really figure out what day is what and what's going on outside of payday and Sunday. You know what I'm saying? That's all I know. I'm just a simple kind of guy like that. No, I'm just whatever. Anyhow, listen. There's been some talk on Fields as a guy being brought in for competition, yada, yada, yada. I don't see how Fields could be in any way, shape, and form competitive with Tua. Shout out to everybody in chat. I see you guys. Josh Allen, XLWay, Danny Barry, Daniel Barry, Sports Highlights. I see you in there. Michael K. I could worship Tua. Wow. What's happening? I could see the light I could worship Tua. Roger Gaines, what's up? Dan the Man, I see you guys. Hit the like button, please. So, anyhow, we had the video. We talked about Fields. And I mean, listen, is there upside? Sure, right? There's upside with the talent, but you're kind of hitting a reset button. Like, Fields is the kind of guy that if he were going to be your starting quarterback or a guy you saw competing, you were kind of in a rebuild. He's one trade away from being on a team where he's a guy that is a stopgap guy for a team that's losing. So would I be excited to see what Mike McDaniel could get out of him? What's up, Dolphins Realtor? Salute, homie. Yeah, sure, I guess, but I don't think he could come in here and compete with Tua. Tua's got a grasp of this offense. Is what we do in this offense is, centered around Tua's strengths and anticipation and, stuff like that. So Fields would need so much coaching up. Now, there is another name that I keep hearing being thrown around here, right? And it's Baker Mayfield. Now, look, I get the idea that people like Baker Mayfield. He's got that kind of gunslinger mentality, the, moxie. He's got a little bit of that going on, and he proved when this year with the Bucks, taking them to the playoffs. He proved that he could still get the job done. But I'm also hearing. I heard somebody say, "What would Baker Mayfield make?" Well, it'd be around $20 million. Well, you have him, and that's a real quarterback. I'm like, what? This team, as cap stricken as they are, going to give $20 million to Baker Mayfield to what? Compete with Tua? Like, some of you people are living in la la land. You don't understand how cap works. You don't understand how anything. And if you brought a Baker Mayfield in, knowing the type of guy he is, not just on and off the field, but you're setting the precedent of immediate. You might as well get rid of Tua. If you bring Baker in, get rid of Tua. That's the thing. You can't afford to keep them both. That's just dumb. You're going to pay $50 million to two quarterbacks. What are we, stupid? Because rather than doing the $50 million every year for one quarterback, which is what probably Tua is going to get if you did pay him somewhere in thereabouts, you're going to split up the money and give it to two. That's going to piss him off. You're going to have a competition. Now you've got people in the locker room picking sides. It's a whole mess, really, if you want to be real. And is Baker Mayfield that good? Is he? Is he a great quarterback? No. You kind of stick with the one you're with, already building going into a third season over pivoting to a guy like Baker Mayfield. Now, when you say things like Justin Fields, I see a little bit more of why fans would want a Justin Fields type, because he has the intangibles as far as an athlete goes where Tua lacks. I don't, Baker Mayfield at one point in time could run and do some stuff, but I don't think he's that guy so much anymore. I'm not saying he's terrible. Listen, the guy was at the Pro Bowl. He's not bad, but I'm looking for something special that I don't have with a guy I got. Not kind of the same shit I got. It's just apples. It's too it's apples and oranges in similarity of not enough upside for me to risk something like that. And I just find it very stupid to talk about paying a guy like him. Or another name I keep hearing mentioned is Gardner Minshew. Now, Gardner Minshew, I kind of understand in the aspect that, yeah, he's been a decent backup. He's had some game experience. He's a journeyman backup kind of guy. Baker Mayfield probably is that, but he don't know that, and he don't feel that way, and he wants to get paid and play a certain way. Where if you brought a Gardner Minshew in, yeah, he'd compete, but he's not going to demand the top dollar, and he would be a good backup if that was his role, and if things went down and he had to step in, could he play well? And potentially, if he played so well and beat Tua out, then Gardner Minshew wouldn't be my future. But we would know Tua isn't our future. That's kind of the whole scenario I'm trying to figure out. It's just stupid, man. It's just dumb, both those guys. To me, the only clear-cut guy that I would bring in as a semi-sort of competition. Well, there's two guys. First guy, now another name, Kirk Cousins. I hear people bring it up. Kirk Cousins costs money. Kirk Cousins wants money. I'm not interested in Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins to me is a guy you get when all else fails. That's what you do. Kirk Cousins is an all else fails kind of guy. Like that's the only time I'm getting a Kirk Cousins. If I don't even, I never liked Kirk Cousins. Didn't think he was good. Didn't think he was bad. Just thought he was a guy. He's just a dude playing the dude, throwing the ball. That's what Kirk Cousins is. Now, the guy I would, again, and I've said this several times, and I'm going to keep saying it until somebody picks up what I'm putting down, I go get Jake Browning. Jake Browning, non-threatening in the sense that, it's not going to divide the locker room because the media is going to get involved in this, whirlwind that would be, how it would happen if you brought in Baker Mayfield or a Justin Fields. You don't have to trade for him, so it's not going to cost you any draft capital. And the guy has differing talents that I see, with how he plays the game versus Tua. And I'd be interested to see what kind of, coaching up and if he can play in this scheme that we use here on offense. So, oh, you did just say Jake Browning, Dolphins Realtor? I've been crowing this guy's name for months, bro. Months. You can go back to in the playoffs, right as soon as we lost. I was like, bring this man in. Actually, before we even played in the playoffs, I was like, we need to start thinking about options, damn it, because we're seeing the late season collapse. That's a guy who looked like his arm held up in the colder weather. So I'm about it. Bring me a Jake Browning. But there's just been a lot of what's up, Joe? Hit the like button, everybody. I hear the Sam Howell talk too. I like Sam Howell. I gotta feel like he's gonna get priced out just ever so slightly because I think there's teams out there that are gonna look at a guy like Sam Howell and think that they can build something with him. Now if he's just a backup or something, I'll bring in Sam Howell. But again, I don't see him as a dude with untapped potential. That's kind of what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a backup to quote unquote potentially compete with Tua Tagovailoa in the case of he goes down and they show up so good on the field that you can't take them off, right? That type of scenario, I'm looking at a guy like Jake Browning. That's what I'm looking at. I don't think I think there's untapped potential in a Jake Browning. I think what we're seeing out of Baker Mayfield is what you get. I think what we're seeing out of Sam Howell is what you get. And it's weird, right? If you took Sam Howell, if you were going to put quarterbacks in like their own little bubbles of types of guys, okay? I would say like Sam Howell, Tua, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield. I know there's somebody else. Even CJ Stroud to a more dynamic, but he's younger. Those types of quarterbacks. I like those types of quarterbacks, but like I kind of know what I'm getting in a sense. They're a little bit of the new age quarterback, right? I like me a little bit of a throwback kind of guy. Tall in the pocket. Give me a Joe Flacco type. I know Joe Flacco's a little long in a tooth now, but a guy like that, a Jake Browning, it's just a different style of quarterback that I'd be interested to see us having on the roster and what Mike McDaniel could get out of him. You know what I'm saying? You guys picking up what I'm putting down? Am I wrong? Goff's another good one. Dolphins Reeler, those types of dudes. I'd be interested to see how a guy like that would fare in this system. Excuse me. Oh, Tua likes to golf. Ha ha. Glennon, I'm sure, I guess Glennon's greatest games of all time. If I don't know, you would think Glennon had the vision of a hawk with that neck he had, just seeing over everything, but just didn't really work out that way, did it? So anyhow, this question about will the Dolphins pay Tua Tagovailoa has been coming up all over, and fielding that question most in the media this Super Bowl week at all the media nonsense from Mad Dog Radio and Joe Rose show, and even in, amongst the beat writers and from other guys. Dan Marino has been getting this question a lot. Dan Marino's been on the Miami Dolphins, media tour, and who better than Dan? Everybody loves Dan. Everybody loves Dan. And Dan's got, first of all, I don't want to do this to Dan Marino because I love him so much, but Dan had the company line cooking on the media day. He really did. When every time somebody asked him about Tua, he's like, well, I think we can win with him. He just has to get better, and we're on the right track, and I don't want to make excuses, but we had key injuries, and that's when things started to dip. It was the same kind of story, and I get it, and I love Dan to death, but it was the same answer over and over and over again with the same words. It was obviously rehearsed, and good for him, because that's obviously the answer that he has and the answer the Miami Dolphins are going to want to give, because really that's all we got going on. And when we talk about paying Tua Tagovailoa, and when people outside of the organization, not named Dan Marino and anyone else, they're asked about, do we pay Tua Tagovailoa? And I'm referring to Chris Sims and Boomer Esiason, who were asked about this. They had an open media availability with the Herald, and they had some quotes talking about it. And Boomer Esiason said, when he was asked, he essentially said, I think they can build around him. He showed that he has the ability to play a full season. Things kind of fell apart at the end of the season, starting with the Tennessee Titans game, and then the defensive injuries all over the place, which I hate it, dude. The tough losses against Kansas City, but I believe that, that the Dolphins have something that they can build around. And if they could, get home field advantage and not have to play in the cold weather games, it's going to be in their favor. Just blah. But essentially the sentiment between Boomer Esiason, and then when they asked Chris Sims, he was in complete agreement with Boomer about, this is probably the best option for the Dolphins to pay Tua Tagovailoa, especially considering our cap circumstances right now. But here's where I differ on that sentiment. And I don't like having to do anything. Now, I have to go to work. I got bills to pay. I have to, afford gas to go to work. I have to afford food for my kids. I got to afford food for the family. There's things I have to do. So outside of any of the things I have to do, I don't want to do anything someone's forcing me to do. And right now, it just feels like the organization, or at least the sentiment is that, well, what else are you going to do, Dolphins? What's your better option? Pay Tua, get it over with, relieve some cap, and, build around him, because that's the best you're going to get. No one better is walking through the door. You can get guys that might be better in certain areas, but if you were to take a 10 different points, if you took a 10-point bulletin of each NFL quarterback that was going to come in the door and had it, a ranking system, they might be better in this category than Tua, but lesser than him in this category. And when you take out the average, you're going to be close to the same. at least with Tua, he's a guy that you've drafted, you know, the team, yada, 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 yada. But, I mean, that's like staying with the bitch ex for the kids. It's like staying in an abusive relationship because you have kids. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. And I'm not saying that Tua is this abusive relationship, but I'm saying the forcefulness in which I feel like people are backing me up into a corner. You might as well just pay Tua. That's not where we are. That's not. We don't have to pay Tua right now. We don't. Is it going to create, you know, more maneuvering with our 53-man roster and how we're going to sign free agents and draft and everything? Yeah, it's going to. It's going to be more work, Chris Greer. It's going to be more work on this coaching staff. But is it going to be any more work than it would have been if we extend him? Now think about that, right? If the Dolphins do extend Tua and say they get an extra $20 million in their cap, which is a significant amount of money, I agree. Is it significant enough that you're going to keep all these guys that are going to potentially leave? You're going to you extend Tua, and now you're going to be able to re-sign Andrew Van Ginkel and Connor Williams and Christian Wilkins. No. You're not going to be able to keep all them guys, even if you sign to a deal. You're not. You're not. You're not going to be able to sign Tua with a magic wand, and because you sign one guy, you get to sign more. I get that there is some cap manipulation in that, and I'm kind of being a little shorthanded here because I'm not going to break down all the numbers. Maybe we'll get into that some other time. But you're going to pay more in the long term. Just 20, what is it? Say 25 million. No, it's like 21 million to Tua this year or something like that. 20-something million for 1 year, or 170 million in guarantees over the next 4 years. Like, think about what we're saying here. We're going to save money by spending 500% more than we're going to have to spend. So all these cap geniuses and how you can do this, you get more by spending more. Ha! This is capitalism tricking you at its finest, right? You want to make money, you gotta spend money, and yeah, there is some truth to that. But really, the saying, as the rich goes, you want to make money, you got to spend somebody else's money. That's the fucking truth. That's what they say. You want to make money, you spend somebody else's money. And when you have a business and you're running it, you don't pay for production you're hoping to get. You pay for production you've already gotten with a contract that deems that you're going to get that level of production out of them plus more. And right now, what's the plus more? Plus more, obviously, to us would hopefully be a Super Bowl. But we haven't won a playoff game. If we're just getting to the playoffs and losing in the first round in the wild card and not winning the division, and we pay this man, and that continues, that's what we've purchased. Because that's what we've been getting. I mean, think about it. Christian Wilkins had his best year up to date. Why? Because this was the year that he had left to show the world that when I come out as a free agent next year, I'm worth what I'm worth. And that's what the big boys get in these big contracts. And he's going to get it. You're going to give Tua that? Yes, it was his best year. But Christian Wilkins' 5 years versus Tua's 4, it's not the same career, not even close. He was in the Flores regime. Flores was the big, mean, bad man. He didn't have Mike McDaniel earlier on. See what I'm saying? Christian Wilkins just got better and better and better all the way to the point where he rode out his 5th-year option and get sour grapes. He played the best he's ever played. And I'm not the biggest Christian Wilkins fan. I love the guy. I think he's a great football player. I'm not the fan that wants to pay this man the bag. Let's put it that way. I'm not paying that man the bag. Not the bag that he wants, but I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying I'm not in a position in the way I want my team run to be paying defensive tackles the type of money they're getting in top 5. I'm not interested in that. But I understand needing it and wanting it and paying guys in certain circumstances, but that's just not where we find ourselves as Dolphins fans right now. But I digress. Tua is not on that same trajectory that Christian Wilkins is. Yes, the arrow was pointing up. Yes, he looked great. Yes, he was healthy. But he didn't play in big moments and win in big games against the best teams in the latter part of the year. He didn't overcome. Now, not paying him is going to have some sacrifices, yes. But all the more reason to find it out now. Find it out now. A little bit of trimming of the fat. Figure things out. That's what I think. That's the right move. It's the smart move. But I already know what they'll do if they do re-sign Tua. If they do re-sign Tua, they'll have a parade about it, and that'll be good and bully on them. But I also understand if they didn't. And I also understand Chris Grier. Chris Grier has been absolutely slippery. He's a slippery guy. If, his picks don't work, it's bad coaching, didn't work out. Or that coach that got fired, that's who he wanted. He's got a way and excuse for his shortcomings all over the place. Granted, I'm impressed with the trades and the free agent acquisitions in the team and roster we assembled in 2023 to go in. That was one hell of a roster up and down. So he is doing good at that. But Chris Grier knows this, and so does every general manager on earth. You essentially get like a life extension in a way. You get, a lot of times you get to draft your quarterback, and that's who you're hitched with. Or you get to sign that quarterback or another quarterback, and that's who you're hitched with. Now, if you draft and sign that quarterback, and there's failure from the offensive side of the ball, you can bet, because they'll probably still keep the quarterback because of money, but that's your job. Chris Grier signs Tua Tagovailoa, and that's it. Tua doesn't work out, he ain't getting another shot. His neck is officially on the chopping block from now until whenever. And that's something that I wonder if Chris Grier's afraid of. And rightfully so, he should be, because he doesn't want to lose his job. Now, Chris Grier's made quite a bit of money. These last 5 years, Chris Grier has taken his net worth from the 20 million range to the 60 million range since being the solo GM. He has made a killing these last 5 years, averaging about 13 million to 15 million each year in net worth. I know because I've looked it up. He's been making money, but so is the team. Team's been making money. He's been spending money. And you know what? He making money by spending somebody else's money. That's how the rich do it. Just got through telling you that. My point is that if he signs with Tua, he's married to him. He's married to him. And right now, listen, the Dolphins have looked for other quarterbacks since Tua's been drafted. Since the day of the draft when they picked Tua over Herbert, and Tua was injured, and Herbert had that lights-out rookie season, there's been a little bit of buyer's remorse. And every year since, from the Tom Brady talk to the Deshaun Watson talk to the Lamar Jackson talk to insert all the other people that we've heard about, those are names that have circulated and gone through that office, and they have said, no, we're sticking with Tua, no, we're sticking with Tua, no, we're sticking with Tua. But if he signs him, there'll be no coming back. And for that reason alone, I could really see Chris Greer saying, nah, let's ride out the 5th year. Which in some ways, it would look like a real savvy move. In other ways, we go, up. This is typical Chris Greer being a pussy and not sticking his neck out. He's going to let someone else stick the neck out. So when the comes time to pay the piper, they're in trouble, not him. Which is totally his style. It's totally his style. That's how he gets down. So that doesn't surprise me at all if that's the case. But he very well may. He very well go, listen, this is my guy. I love Tua. I love you, Tua. I don't know. Maybe he will. But yeah, I don't want to hear any more about Baker Mayfield signing him as a free agent. I don't want to hear any more nonsense like that. Gardner Minshew, Baker Mayfield, blah, 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 blah. Justin Fields, fine. You get him on a friggin' conditional second-round pick, some bullshit thing. Like, you scoop him in and you want to take some raw talent that a guy like that has with his speed and his running ability and that arm strength, and you think you can mold something worthy, cool. For a low-risk, high-reward type of trade, fine. I can maybe stomach that. To me, the bright move is go and get Jake Browning. That would be sick. That would be smart. That's a good contingency plan. In which case, holla for $1. That's what I think. So, guys, I'm sure you guys have already heard, but I'm going to talk about it anyhow. After the Dolphins signed defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver from the Ravens, a guy that, we talked a little bit about, there's some mixed feelings on the Anthony Weaver side. I like that the guy played in the NFL. I love that. I think that's really an edge in the locker room, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because defensive guys, although they play different positions, they all kind of have the same type of mentality. It's a dog mentality. Like, you can't be on defense and be finesse. Like, there's finesse corners and stuff like that, but they're not the best ones. The best ones are the dogs. Everybody know that. The dude's laying the boom. The dude's going out there and, fighting with wide receivers, jumping high and fighting not to get the ball out of the air. Those are probably the only ones that get that little diva finesse type of nonsense. Everybody else is just a psychopath looking to crack heads. Yeah, there's some a little bit more cerebral, some are a little bit more intellectual, some are a little bit more, some are just absolute madmen and, are crazy, but they all have that type of dog in them. And when there's a coach that's your head dude, your defensive coordinator, and he was in the NFL and he knows what it's like on the battlefield and he knows what it's like, in a game and how that feels, the momentum, the crowd, he can relate to them a lot more and they'll hear him more, which, that goes with just about anything. You want to take advice from somebody and you're like, yeah, teachers teach, they don't do. Well, this guy did, and now he teaches, which is always a feather in your cap. But this next hire, this former Packers defensive coordinator. This Joe Barry guy. I mean, this, as far as a defensive coordinator goes, this guy has been terrible. Not good. When he got the defense from the Packers, and I got the numbers here, they started out. Let's see if I could find it again. I want to say they were ranked 17th when he got them, and he just drugged them down all the way to like 23rd. He's just hasn't been good. When he was also the defensive coordinator for the Lions when they went 0-16 in 2007 and 8. He's just been a terrible defensive coordinator. He has not been good, not at all. Now, as a position coach, listen. Here's what it's saying right here. Green Bay finished 10th in points allowed and 17th in yards allowed throughout his tenure. The Packers were 12th in points allowed and yards allowed. That is an inflated number of what he's done with that team. He was with the Lions. He was with the Chargers back when they were San Diego. He was with the Bucks. And that's where he did a lot of his coaching as a linebackers coach. And as a linebackers coach, he's been a part of some really good squads. Now, all these good squads on these good defenses, especially in his defensive unit, he's had some superstars. Now, is that due to him? I don't know. Here's what I do know. Buddy ain't been good as a DC. Buddy was good as a position coach, and sometimes it's best to know, when you're struggling in some ways, go back to what you know and do it like that. And hopefully that's the case. Odd thing that happened, though, right? Anthony Campanelli looking for defensive coordinating jobs. They end up swapping. Campanelli ends up going to the Packers to be their linebackers coach while we take their DC as our linebackers coach. It was just a weird move. Like this whole thing that happened, I don't understand it, but I know there's a lot of connections between LaFleur and McDaniel and just some weird stuff going on. Haven't put together all the spider webs and pieces yet, but there's definitely some insider trading going on in that whole ordeal. But I mean, here's what I know, right? The last Coach Barry we brought in here on a position group panned out really good for us. And I'm talking about Butch Barry. Now, Joe Barry, no relation, old man, old great-great-granddad Barry was out there setting up franchises. He was a dirty dog, that old man Barry. But anyhow, Joe Brady, he no relation to fucking the offensive line coach Barry, but if we get that kind of improvement, that would be awesome. So, and lastly, the Dolphins hired a new outside linebackers coach, the ex-outside linebackers coach from the Tennessee Titans, Ryan Crow. So, the Dolphins' current outside linebackers coach, Ryan Slowick, he did not get fired or let go like Anthony Campanelli. They're actually going to keep him with the team, which good for him because that in particular unit was obliterated by injuries. I mean, think about it. You lose Chubb, you lose Phillips, you lose Andrew Van Ginkel, you even lost Cameron Good at the end of the year to the patella injury. And that guy's unit continued to put together good football. So wisely they kept him and brought in this other guy, which Ryan Crow, he was a defensive assistant for 2 years and then became special teams coordinator assistant, I believe, for a year, and then got the linebacking coach job. And when the Vrabel fire happened, it was a fire sale on all coaches. They're getting rid of everybody, and we picked them up. And so we'll see what Slowick's new job title will be in this new defense under Weaver. But Ryan Crow, I just don't know what to expect from the guy. Young dude. What's up, Shake? What's up, Raph? What up, Mr. Polk? Greg, I see you. Hit the like button. What's up, X Factor? Yeah, he's a dude, right? Like, I'm not gonna judge him hard, but hey, look how famous Anthony Campanelli got, I guess. I mean, fuck, how many people talk about Anthony Campanelli? But just a couple of updates for you guys. Wanted to get into it. We've had some hires, we've had some movement. There's been some things going on, and there's going to be more. I really expect right after the Super Bowl we're going to start seeing hearing some chatter, hearing some, deals being worked out. The draft's going to be coming up soon, and Dolphins are going to want to figure out some movement. And I look, I got content that I'm going to be putting out with, on a couple of things. I'm wondering what the Dolphins are going to do on a couple of these players. Some of them I'd love for us to keep. Others, I just don't know what they're going to do. Maybe some contract restructuring. We can't just rebuild everything, but look, we're seeing changes being made to the defense. It's going to be a 3-4, hybrid 4-3 type of scheme that we've been running, but I think there's going to be a little bit more blitzes coming, and hopefully I'm not really upset, because to me, the defense is going to be all right. We counted on this defense, and it showed up in enough moments with Boyer. This defense was top 10 last year. I don't want to hear any excuses. So, but guys, on your way out, make sure to hit the like button. And in the comment sections at the end of the video, make sure to leave a comment in there. It's easier for me to respond to you guys. If you have a question, put it in the comment at the end of the video in the comment section. I'm able to get back in there and answer a question. Also, let me know what you guys think about, extending Tua or riding out the 5th-year option. What would you guys do? And, what do you guys think about this new defensive hire, this squad they're putting together? I mean, are you worried about these guys? They all seem, I don't know. My defensive staff I had last year was pretty dope, and now I'm making changes. So what I know is that if they go down, I'm not going to want to hear no excuses. If anything, they got to be where they left off this year, injuries or not. So hit the like button on the way out, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Fins up.